Having goals is absolutely amazing. In fact, I would argue that it is critical in business to set goals for yourself. Now, one of the things I love most about this sport is the value of hard work that it instills in athletes. The only thing I did was eat, lift, go to work, eat, and lift. I had no girlfriend. I didn't drink. My life was my goal. And my goal was to get as big as I could so I could partner stunt when I got to doubles. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are talking about 3 things to do if you want something and haven't achieved it yet. I've recently been told that the term hustle porn is not as commonly used as I thought it was after I posted on X. The term hustle porn is used to glorify overworking and the idea that you can only accomplish great things by working 23 hours a day, wearing the same clothes every day, and sleeping on your friend's couch. This was a super popular thing between 2015 and 2020. And I have to admit, I was kind of into the idea at that time, but I've grown to not really vibe with that kind of mindset. However, that said, there are 3 things you need to do if you truly want something and have not yet achieved it. And number 1 is work harder. Now, this obviously flies in the face of what I was just saying about that term and how I don't really vibe with it. But working harder is not just the idea that you need to work longer hours. I actually use the analogy with my athletes. Right now, you're standing in front of a door that says pull, and you are pushing on it as hard as you can, then looking at me and saying, I don't know why it doesn't work. When the answer is there, just pull the freaking door. So sometimes working harder simply means being more focused on the things that are moving the ball forward. Now, yes, in some circumstances, it may mean making sacrifices of things that maybe are less important towards your goal. Maybe you don't go out late partying with your friends. Maybe you miss that third cousin's birthday party. You're going to have to prioritize what things you're going to work on in the moment and what things you're going to let go by. Now, I think hard work is something that I like to look at in terms of seasons. Now, granted, my gauge for what is hard work might be a little bit skewed because for 15 years, I worked an average of 55 hours a week at my full-time job. I coached 2 to 3 teams on top of that, ran summer camps, and for 8 of those years, I was serving in the National Guard as well. So for me, having seasons where I'm working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, feels like a very slow pace. Where in the summer months where I'm doing camps, I will work an average from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., June through the end of August, and not really bat an eye. And that's not meant to be a blueprint to follow. However, I just have some really crazy goals and I haven't accomplished them yet. And I just want to put into a frame of reference that you might need to look at how busy you are based on your seasons and know that there are going to be some seasons where you're really, really busy and some seasons where things are a little bit more calm for you, but you're still working, but you're not necessarily working as ferociously towards those goals. And it's okay to have an ebb and flow. Now, you may be a person who just needs very steady, consistent, I work my 6 hours a day or my 8 hours a day and I don't go beyond that and I just stay within that bubble. And if that's what works best for you, that's totally fine. But when we're looking at, okay, why haven't I accomplished my goal yet? And you're looking back at your day and you're saying, well, I only really worked on achieving that goal for like 30 minutes, or I haven't worked on achieving that goal in months, then we can't really be shocked that we haven't yet met it. I set out to write a book and it has been a long process. And Danielle actually challenged me. She said, let's see who can finish their book first. Now, I think she kind of cheated because she was already like 5 chapters into hers and was like, oh, well, I'm actually almost done. And I was like, I just started, but I liked the competition and she finished hers well before I did. But that motivation was something that spurred me to work. And I just set aside time. I said, I want to have the first draft of the manuscript done by December of 2023. And I did. I made it a goal and I just worked on that goal every single day for 2 hours. I worked on it and I got there. And it was because I carved out the time. I couldn't have gotten to December and been like, oh, well, I wrote for a day here and a day there, and then been mad that I didn't accomplish it. Now, one of the things I love most about this sport is the value of hard work that it instills in athletes. I have had an ongoing disagreement with one of my staff members, Jelani. I coached Jelani as a teenager on my Worlds team, and after that, he went on to compete at TVCC and Weber State. And at Dream Camps one summer, we were having a debate about if anyone could be great at cheerleading. And I vehemently disagreed with him that not anyone could be as good as he had become at partner stunning. He's one of the best in the country. And his argument was that with enough time and effort, anyone could get as good as he was. And he basically said, I am a product of my work ethic and environment more than I am a product of any natural God-given talent. Now, I disagreed and said that general genetics and athleticism did play a role. But in the end, I think he has a very valid point. And I'm going to tell you another story. So when I tried out at the University of Oregon way back in my college days for cheer, I was recovering from a back surgery 3 months prior. I had herniated my L4-5 and I had had a discectomy from really debilitating sciatica. And this was at 18 years old. And so I had my surgery and was recovering and just living in the dorm. I wasn't working out. I was with my best friend from high school. Most of our time was spent playing video games, playing guitar, and going to classes. And when I went to tryouts, it was actually a totally random thing. I was not prepared at all. It was because a couple of my old high school friends who I'd cheered with knocked on my door and said, hey, we're here for cheer tryouts. And I was like, you know what, I'll go. And at that point in time, I weighed 130 pounds soaking wet. And it was a good thing I was a tumbler because I made the team. After I made the team, I think I threw a toss hands with one of their smallest and best girls to kind of be put on the team. And I knew that I wanted to stunt. I didn't want to just be a tumbler. And I knew we were a very co-ed team. I mean, it was like large co-ed style. So guy and partner. And so I knew I wanted to do that. So that summer I hit the weights as hard as I could. And without any drugs, lifting twice a day and eating about 4,000 calories a day, I put on 30 pounds and showed up to daily doubles at 160 pounds. Now, that is absolutely insane when it comes to weight gain. It's really rare to happen. And I think it's mostly because I really hadn't lifted weights at any point in time in my life. And so that was the first introduction I had to lifting weights. And I was eating voraciously. And that goal never would have been accomplished if I hadn't sacrificed. The only thing I did was eat, lift, go to work, eat, and lift. I had no girlfriend. I didn't drink. My life was my goal. And my goal was to get as big as I could so I could partner stunt when I got to doubles. And while that isn't sustainable at all times, you can't live your entire life like that. Many people are capable of sustaining that level of intensity for short bursts. The biggest issue with working harder is, like I mentioned at the beginning, you have to also work more efficiently. So we do need to work harder, and we may need to figure out how we can dedicate more time to working on that goal and what are the things that we're going to sacrifice if that goal is really important to us. But then we have to figure out how we can work more efficiently so we can work harder while also accomplishing more in less time and with less effort. And that brings me to number 2, which is get smarter. I've talked about this a bunch of times, but knowledge is one of the most important things to decrease the amount of time it takes you to accomplish your goals. This will build in the efficiencies that I was referencing before with speed. So when you know how to do the thing, it becomes much easier to build momentum, and it allows you to work harder without actually working that much harder, right? Momentum is a benefit. It's just like a tumbler who's trying to throw a double full. If they throw a really slow round off and a really slow back handspring, they're not going to be generating the momentum to do that double full. Now, can you do it? Can you work harder and just jump harder and pull that double full out? Yeah, you probably could with enough training and effort. It's not going to be good. We want to use momentum to our advantage. and knowledge compounds upon knowledge. So it is absolutely a force multiplier when it comes to how you can work harder. Now, currently in my program, we are seeing what seems to be a semi-common industry-wide phenomenon, which is that class enrollment has dipped and has not taken as big of an upswing as it has in the past couple years. There was kind of this natural ebb and flow. I couldn't simply outwork my decrease in enrollment. Just working harder wasn't going to solve the problem. Yeah, I could send some more emails. I could rework a curriculum, and that would have been work, and I would have been working hard, but it wouldn't have fixed the problem. And what there was a knowledge gap. I needed to figure out where this problem was, and I needed to improve on some things. So I started looking at my lead magnets and my client funnels, as I mentioned in some of my previous episodes. And so I dove headlong into how to develop a better landing page and improving my marketing in a drastic way. Now, I will be honest, the jury is still out on everything I'm doing and if it's working, but the only way I could get my class enrollment goals was to get smarter and start doing things differently. And I've got some really big goals because, as I've mentioned before, we're looking at a potential move. And with that potential move brings a lot of additional expenses. And so I want to have a larger class program before we get there. The next thing to do is to learn how to work faster. Working faster will happen by getting smarter. You'll become more efficient, but I also mean I want you to be willing to make big moves quicker. Sometimes you have to get something done and get it perfect later. Going back to the landing page example, my landing page isn't really done. I think I'll have about 5 more updates before it is where I want it to be. And I could wait to get it all right, or I could get some improvements done now and keep moving forward. So I chose to get some improvements done now and keep moving forward. And I'm going to continue to iterate and improve that landing page and hopefully see my conversions continue to improve at the same rate. So you want to get to your execution phase quicker. The number 2 thing with working faster is get someone who can show you the way. Now, I've talked about this before, but when you can have a map to get where you need to go, it's much, much faster to find your way. Now, a lot of you know I was in the Army, and as a young infantry lieutenant, you have to learn how to use a map and a compass. And land navigation courses, which is where you're using the map and the compass, were common in every phase of testing, from ROTC through my commissioning program, my BOLIC and leaders course, and all of those other things. In these land navigation courses, you would be given multiple 8-digit grid coordinates, which is a series of numbers that dictate where a point on a map is. And then you would get an 8-digit grid for where you were. So you knew exactly where you were starting from and all the different points you had to reach. From there, all you had was your map and your compass to find those points. And you had to do it in the daytime and in the night. So the 2 ways to do it would be one that is called dead reckoning, which is drawing a line from where you know you are right now to the next point, figuring out the magnetic azimuth of that line, then looking at your compass at the magnetic azimuth, and then trying to walk in as straight of a line as possible for hundreds of meters through the thick Georgia forest. The other method would be attack points. Follow the road to a known point as close to a point you need to get to. Once you know you're at that point, know your azimuth from there to the goal point, and try to walk that straight line, but for a shorter distance. Option A, which is the one walking through the woods for hundreds of meters, would be considered the slowest. It's also the easiest to get lost as you try to navigate around obstacles. The attack points method was much faster, but still presented significant challenges if the point you stood in the road wasn't the right intersection because your pace count got off, or you just got disoriented for some reason, or any other variety of reasons. There were many moments doing this that I found myself wondering why we were doing it this way, when if you just gave me a freaking GPS, I could get where I needed to go way faster. And it's not like GPSs did not exist at this point in time. Well, the same thing applies. Getting someone to show you the way in business or in cheer is the exact same thing. If you can get someone who knows exactly how to get you to where you want to go, it's going to be the fastest way to do it. You can figure it out on your own, but if you want to do it fast, you want to get a guide because they'll drastically improve your speed. Now, the last one is my number one secret sauce to working faster. If you master this, you'll not only work faster, but the rate at which you get things done will quite literally compound. And that is get people to help you. Even better, get people to help you who are better than you at the thing you want to do. So if you can build a team of people who are working toward the same goal, their efforts will combine to create results at a speed you could never have accomplished on your own. This is delegation. This is using your team effectively. So instead of you being the only person to touch your marketing and no one else does it, then train someone to create some of your graphics. Train a staff member to build some of the email campaigns. Find a staff member who knows how to use ChatGPT. If you're not leveraging AI to increase the speed at which you can get things done, you're not working faster. You're not working efficiently. There are so many tools out there to help you with this, on top of the fact of use your team. Having a team that is helping you is your superpower. That is how you can get more hours out of a day, because we all have the same amount of hours. So the only thing you can do is get more people working towards the same goal in the same amount of hours, and that will result in you working much faster. Okay, so get your team working together. If you don't know how to do this, I want you to be really cautious about delegation. There are bad ways to do it. You should follow the 10-80-10 rule, which is 10% of the time is for you to, like, you're doing 10% of the work on the front end. Hey, these are the things that need to happen. Then you're delegating it. They're doing 80% of the work, and then you're doing that 10% finishing, especially if you're just getting started with delegation, right? 10-80-10 is a great way to start delegating to some of your staff. As I mentioned, you can also get people who know more than you. So get someone to do your website for you. Like, if you hire a professional, I just got an amazing slide deck from one of my staff who works summer staff for me, and she does email marketing as her full-time gig, and she's doing a bunch of stuff with me for Dream Camps marketing, and she put together this amazing deck of all this awesome information with brand voice and all these things that I've never had the time to sit down and figure out. And she did it all for me, and it was beautiful. And I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic. And I'm leveraging the fact that she has a skill set that, like, I have a little bit of a skill set in, but why wouldn't I leverage someone who is way better at that than me and compensate them for their time? But I would way rather pay for someone who's great to get that thing done than me be the one who has to do every single thing. Having goals is absolutely amazing. In fact, I would argue that it is critical in business to set goals for yourself. Whether you want to call them goals or strategic priorities or rocks or frogs or whatever it is, it's up to you. But ultimately, you need to have objectives to accomplish so you know what you're working towards. If you have objectives that you haven't accomplished as a gym owner or as a coach, or even for those athletes that are listening, then look at which one of the 3 things that I've mentioned that you haven't done yet, which is work harder, get smarter, and work faster. What are the things that you can do? What are those levers that you can pull on to get you to your goal and actually achieve the thing that you have been working towards? Okay, it's one of those 3 things, or maybe all 3 of them, but you need to start pulling on those levers so you can start getting closer to your goals. I want you to challenge yourself to figure out what it is that you need to do to accomplish that goal. If you have never defined goals and you feel like you're wandering listlessly and you're just going through the motions as a business or as a coach, then sit down and make some. It's okay. Like, just start somewhere. And if they're bad to start with, make some new ones. Don't stress about it. Okay. You can play with those, you can mess with them, and you can change up your goals as you grow. One of the most annoying things I think about me as an entrepreneur is I've replaced the athletic accomplishment I was able to get with business accomplishment. And so I'm never satisfied. Like once there's one goal, once I've conquered one mountain, it's time to get to the next mountain. So, dream camps, it was like, well, we got the best camp in Oregon. And then it was like, well, now it's time to expand. Now we're in Florida. Now we're in Missouri. Now we're launching another location. Like it's all of those different things. Next gen, the same thing. We started with this small group of people. And then how can we impact more gyms? How can we, meet our crazy ambitious goal of changing the industry to run more efficiently and help gym owners make a living and turn their businesses into something that can support them and support their staff with like real full-time jobs and like treat this like an actual industry that keeps people in it and can keep the people who are doing such great work thriving and support parents throughout this sport and deliver a better product for the athletes and the coaches and the parents. Like a crazy audacious goal. And we're just like never satisfied, because once we accomplish one of our goals, it's like, okay, now what's next? And you can do the same thing wherever you're at, whether you're an athlete, you're a coach, you're a gym owner, you can do the same thing, but it's also okay if that's not you. I want to just really touch on for the last second, I wasn't even planning to go here, but also know that it's okay to know where you're satisfied. Not everyone has to have the exact same drive. There are people who are absolutely like, they have a goal in mind and they know that that is happiness for them. And maybe your goal truly is to, have a certain amount of free time in your life or spend a certain amount of time. Like if you have a goal of like, I never want to miss my kids' soccer game. I don't ever want to miss an event, a school event or anything with my kids ever. That's like my number one goal. Then it's okay to know that and then live your life accordingly. And don't let your business take over. Okay. Then we need to work smarter and we need to figure out how to make it so you can accomplish that goal of never missing your kids' activities, right? Not everyone needs to be driven in the same way. It's okay to know where your satisfaction lies and then build your life around achieving that goal. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you listened and you feel like you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. NextGen can help you. We have our Gym Owners Academy to help you learn how to be a better owner. We can get you one-on-one with one of our coaches. All of them are trained by me. They go through the curriculum that I've developed and they can help you get to those goals. If you're not ready for that, or if you're already in the academy, thank you. If you're not ready for it, keep taking advantage of everything we have out there. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And with that, we'll catch you on the next one.